Okay, MasterLupin is back, and it's part 2 of our engraving project. And as you can see, I've been very busy working on it, and there is almost nothing left to do. I can't say that I'm completely happy with what's going on, but it's a new variety. It's silver, and learning some things that silver doesn't quite dig deep in and engrave for you as gold does. So if you want my recommendation, picking a project, pick a gold one. They really look great. Silver ones, the prism ones are really cool. But anyways, this is part 2 and our last part, because of course there's not going to be anything left. I worked out the waves, and I've done almost all the horses. Now the horse on the left looks good in a distance, and that's fine. It'll look wonderful under glass. But I can't say I'm really happy with how the textures turned out. They're just too overworked. The horse a lot closer to what I was hoping to get. The horse, as it stands now, on the right, looks fantastic. At least under the camera it does. The real trick on these things, and again, taking patience as your key instruction. If you don't like what you're doing, stop and come back to it when it's interesting again. You don't want to force yourself to do it, because there's a side of your brain as an artist, the left side, that wants to do everything as a task. And this side dictates that you want to do it as fast as you can, get it over with, and be done. And it's sloppy, and it doesn't know how to do art. And when your art's a task, stop what you're doing and wait until it's a free-flowing process, a pleasure to do. You should never let the left side of the brain dictate your art for you. Now, I'm doing something different on our video today, and I'm sorry about the glare that you're seeing there. That's the sun coming in my room. I'm working on my bed because it's more comfortable. It really is. It's more comfortable for me than working on the floor. And anyways, so what I'm going to do is going to go in a little closer and show you a few minutes of me working, hopefully without obstructing. And here's the trick. We're going to go to what we don't want showing, so that we can rest our hands safer. And again, with the tool, just kind of go over the lines. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Watch the patterns. It's telling you what to do. If you look at the package, you'll get an idea of what you are aiming for. Lighter lights and middle tones. And that's really hard to do, because if you go all with the same thickness stroke, you're not going to get the definitions that you want, and it's going to look all uniform. And it will look alright, but it won't look as artistically professional as what you would be striving for. Special shout out to my friend McLeod, who is apparently one of the few people on YouTube who's actually looked at this video from part 1. And so if anybody is learning anything, thank you. I don't know how many people are going to be seeing this over the years, but so far I'm not really happy with the education section of YouTube, as the political crap, the real estate stuff. I mean, we're talking education. That's like art tutorial how to do your hair, how to do makeup, you know, how to make a costume, how to create, not frickin' political ads and the crapola that they put on as suggested videos on my sidebar. It's very discouraging. At least some of the suggested videos that have popped up on part 1 are horse related, even though there was no horse in my description. I'll change that. For my tags. So if the tool's working, then you should be able to dictate how thick the lines are. And with the silver, I'm finding that there's a lot of residue where you can't see the thickness until you know, and some spots are just resisting being scratched off, and that's a problem. Nothing big, just you can skip over, you don't have to lay it down. And I'll go over thickness there real quick. For really thick strokes, try to keep the pen from leaving the board. And for thin strokes, you can go higher over the project, if that's making sense. I hope so. Yeah, I'm definitely in my comfort element, working from my bedspread on my bed than trying to do it on the floor. And one of the things that you're doing when you're covering your project, besides keeping your fingerprints off, is that you're reducing the subject you're reducing the subject to just a task. You're getting the strokes that you want because you're not seeing it as a horse's hoof, and there's no objectivity about how a horse's hoof should be going into your head. You're strictly doing the strokes. They don't look like anything, but you're following the pattern on the paper, and that's better in some of the cases. When you're doing the fine details of the head, you do want to have it erased. You do want to have it uncovered so that you can think about the horse's features and see it, and don't have it a thing. But things like the horse's hoofs down there, and this is the part we just worked on, and see how it looks in context to the whole picture. That's good. Anyways, it's coming along real nice. I'm going to stop the camera because this is just an overlong video, and we'll come back in a few. Okay, so a little bit more work's been done, and we're definitely starting to see that this is going to be a nice project after all. I wasn't so sure how it was going to turn out, and that's kind of the fun of little craft projects like this. Some things didn't work out. As I said in my part 1 video, I was going to try for a more deeper engraving part, and that was foiled by the resistance of the cardboard to deep cuts. Kind of sucks, but the darn board is ripping up quite under there, so I have to give Royal and Langnickel board projects the edge when it comes to deep engraving on their silver foil and gold foil projects. You simply cannot get the deep cuts with the tool on the reeds for some reason. But anyways, what we're going to try to do in front of the camera for you now is we're going to do the mane, and that's a descriptory term for the horse's hairpiece. which of course you know, but I didn't mean the main part of the project. I mean the horses, M-A-N-E, mane. And horse is an entirely different texture than my darn owls and eagles that I've done in the past. And different kind of cross-hatching technique to do than you would do a feather or a bark on a tree limb, as I've done in the past. Very different. And don't worry if your strokes aren't perfect. Again, you go over. It is allowed. One of the things you want to do is identify your highlight areas and go over them extra white. Where is the light catching? And a little previous art experience doesn't hurt you in knowing how to put in highlights and hair and how to manipulate lighter, deeper, broader strokes to define a very light area. Because again, we're working black against white, or in this case silver against black. And it doesn't matter if your tool's working. If it's upside down, if you think, I'm sorry, I keep starting and stopping my sentences. If you think engraving horses is interesting, you should try painting them as an oil paint. I've tried it before, and I can get the heads very nice, but the bodies just kind of, I don't know, they turn into rump roasts. I don't know much about the definition of muscles on horses, like I know how people are and how birds are. You know, it helps to know a little of that foreknowledge when doing these kind of projects, because then they're not such an amorphous blob when you're doing it. And again, the previous artist who created this illustration, he definitely knew his horse anatomy. And it shows. It shows oh so well. For the side of the horses, I'm trying to make, next to the mane, I'm trying to make a definition of a variety of lines. The manes are a broad stroke, and the horses' hides themselves are a bunch of closely knit together lines. There are different varieties of hair going on here. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the first portion of this video, but I was getting burned out. I wasn't happy with where the project was going. And so I took a little break for a week until I was ready to come back to it. And this isn't dictated by just saying I'm not coming back to this for X amount of days. You just have to feel like it. And if the project isn't fun, unless you have a gift that you have to give out a certain amount of time, hey, put it away for a month, put it away for a year. Don't work on it if it's no fun, because you're not going to force a masterpiece. If you don't have your confidence. Tiny little strokes as we get closer to that mane. The mane is a separate piece in the horse's head, and we want to define the outlines like that. up, down, all around. And again, since I've gotten most of the project, it's okay to have it uncovered, especially since I'm working on the finer details of the heads. And as you can see, that's looking really good. But I think I want the top mane to be a solid white hair strand. And I want it defined apart from the beginning of the head. If you have a friend who likes to do crafts, might want to try something different. Give one of these as a gift project. A senior citizen that has a lot of time on their hands and might be doing knitting, they might enjoy taking a shot at one of these. Anybody can do it because it's very mechanical. It doesn't hurt to have previous art knowledge, but I don't think you really have to. This will teach you how to sketch. If you have the right frame of mind when you go into it. And that frame of mind should be the right side hemisphere of your brain. The one that doesn't track time, because, you know, I'm doing a few other things right now off camera. I've got a video game lobby going on as I speak, and I can do this and lose 2 hours and it'll feel like 3 minutes. Literally. The right side of the human brain hemisphere does not track time. And this is the same effect as when you're reading and the next thing you know, it was 2 o'clock and now it's 6 o'clock while you're reading a book. You literally have no concept of time when you're in that side of your brain. It's the creative side. It's the side that sees a free-flowing, everything is what it is and not what the brain wants to see kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's a wonderful book, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, and explains this art teacher. It's actually a art textbook in some colleges, and as it should be. And I firmly believe anybody can pick up a pencil, a paintbrush, and you're talking to a kid who was like the worst of the color book artists in his family. My sisters were master color book artists, and I completely sucked. Actually, my sister Deborah still brings a coloring book when she comes in for a visit from California. Every now and then. And she actually colors children's coloring books, and she's still really good at it. And I've found, not to knock Crayola, they've made some wonderful artists, but I found for myself that crayons are not my medium. I have absolutely no control over those things. They're too blocky. They look like crap, and people who think that they're not good artists based on crayon art, forget it, guys. I'm sorry. That is not an indicator of how well you can sketch. You have no control over those tools. It's a big, blotchy medium. And children who use crayons and can't use them very well, it is no indication of how good their art is by any stretch of the imagination. If you have a fine tool, you can manipulate and make the lines that you want to much better than if you have a bad tool. A bad brush for an artist is a curse when painting. If you have cheap brushes when you're trying to oil paint or, for instance, paint a model kit, nothing is going to make those paint strokes go the way you want them to. It goes along the lines also with the paint medium itself. If you have bad paint, if you have paint that's crap, that's globby and doesn't flow smooth, so that's how your paint job's going to be. It's going to be globby. It's the difference from using the old standard sold everywhere tester's paint, which tends to go bad. It goes extremely bad in globby. Faster on the shelves, and most of those paints have been sitting, and not being mixed for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I mean, some hobby shops have a supply of tester's paints that never get fresh. They just keep bringing out boxes that have been sitting in a storeroom for months and months and months. And sure, they'll sell you some old paint, and you'll buy it and you'll glob it on with a good brush or a bad brush. God knows those brushes that they sell with tester's paint's horrible. Anyways, I don't want to get going anymore. I'm just going to cut off the video from here because this is a very long one. But as you can see, you just go with the strokes, identify your highlights, and try to bring out the white areas bolder and darker by, closer together strokes. And the areas that need light contrast, that is to say lighter shades of gray, you just kind of further spread them apart. And keep doing this until you end up with a horse after it all puts together, just stroke by stroke by stroke. And we'll see you as I get to more going on this project. Okay, well, it's a good thing I'm almost out of memory, because we are done. As you can see, didn't turn out too bad. I got a nice contrast thing going on, and all in all, turned out real well. It'll look nice in a frame if I decide to give it away as a gift or sell it or something. Just I'm not a horse guy for my art. I can do it because I have a trained artist eye, and I know something about how light plays and shadows and muscles and things. But anybody can do this if they've got the patience, the tool, and the right frame of mind. This was the Reeves Wild Stallion Silver Foil Scraper Foil art project, and not half bad.